This image was taken from a split-second frame in a corrupted bootleg of the SpongeBob SquarePants episode Dumped. Other than the image, the rest of the video is composed of incomprehensible jumbles of color, static, or just black screens. The audio seems to be a heavily distorted version of the audio from the original episode, with loud, droning buzzes occasionally interrupting it. The bootleg tape itself was found in December 2004 by a group of 5 teenagers from the city rummaging around in a trash can within an abandoned mental institution. Of these 5 individuals, 2 have committed suicide, 1 has gone missing, 1 refuses to comment on the tape, and the last hastily agreed to give paranormal investigators the tape shortly after being interviewed about the suicide and disappearances of the other 3 persons. The current whereabouts of the tape are unknown, and many who stare at this image for a long enough period of time claim to see SpongeBob blink. In 1984, an old widow lady lived by herself in a 2-story house. She was completely immobile and bound to her wheelchair. Ever since the mysterious death of her husband, she required the aid of a caretaker who would visit her daily to help her with everyday tasks. What made it so difficult was the fact that the 2 floors of the house were only connected by an old and decrepit staircase. When the old lady needed to move between the 2 floors, the caretaker would have to carry her frail body like an infant up and down the stairs. One day, the police received a call from the widow. There had been a murder. Since police units were scarce at the time and the murderer had already fled the scene, only 1 detective was sent out to conduct the initial crime scene report. He arrived to see the caretaker's body splayed out on the floor with her vocal cords ripped out, leaving a pool of blood on the first level of the house. The old lady sat atop the staircase in her wheelchair watching him, still and silent, seemingly in shock. He immediately ruled her out as a suspect due to her inability to move up and down the stairs, and because she was trapped up there at the time the murder took place. It was similar to the death of her husband, who had suffocated in his sleep on the couch downstairs many years ago. The detective put on his gloves, took photos, swabbed for evidence, and covered the body until the coroner arrived later. All routine business. He scoped the entire first floor for any clues, then asked the old lady if he could look upstairs. She insisted that she was upstairs the whole time and no one apart from her had been up there that day. Regardless of this, the detective ascended the staircase, to which she slowly and hesitantly moved aside. Beyond the staircase, there was a narrow corridor with 3 closed doors along it. He checked behind each of the doors. The empty bedroom, nothing. The bathroom, nothing. He became anxious as he slowly made his way to the final bedroom where the old lady slept. He opened it and everything looked normal. A bed, a wardrobe, and a bedside table with a lamp. He checked every wall of the room in horror, as it was not what he discovered, but it was what he didn't discover that made him stop dead in his tracks and slowly reach for his gun in its holster. It was a detail so minor that they had completely overlooked it on the last investigation of the husband's death. There was no phone upstairs. He suddenly heard a noise. He withdrew his gun and rushed out of the room, only to find an empty wheelchair atop of the stairs. A man went to a hotel and walked up to the front desk to check in. The woman at the desk gave him his key and told him that on the way to his room, there was a door with no number that was locked and no one was allowed in there. She explained that it was a storeroom and that it was out of bounds. She reminded him of this several times before allowing him upstairs, so he followed the instructions of the woman at the front desk, going straight to his room and going to bed. However, the insistence of the woman had piqued his curiosity, so the next night he walked down the hall to the door and tried the handle. Sure enough, it was locked. He bent down and looked through the wide keyhole. Cold air passed through it, chilling his eye. What he saw was a normal hotel bedroom, like his, and in the corner was a woman whose skin was incredibly pale. She was leaning her head against the wall, facing away from the door. He stared in confusion for a while. Was this a celebrity? The owner's daughter? He almost knocked on the door out of curiosity, but decided not to. As he was looking, the woman turned sharply and he jumped back from the door, hoping she would not suspect he had been spying on her. He crept away from the door and walked back to his room. The next day, he returned to the door and looked through the wide keyhole. This time, all he saw was redness. He couldn't make anything out besides a distinct red color, unmoving. Perhaps the inhabitants of the room knew he was spying the night before and had blocked the keyhole with something red. He felt embarrassed that he had made the woman so uncomfortable and hoped she had not made a complaint with the woman on the front desk. At this point, he decided to consult her for more information. She sighed and said, "Did you look through the keyhole?" The man told her that he had, and she said, "Well, I might as well tell you the story of what happened in that room. A long time ago, a man murdered his wife in there, and we find that even now, whoever stays there gets very uncomfortable. But these people were not ordinary. They were white all over, except for their eyes, which were red."
Definitely elevating for the 966. The ill suicidal libel to take titles and make vital signs, but not like no cancer. Answer, there's no chance to advance to ya. Who ya got blazed through ya? The great super science, applying pressure, I desecrate with double O's and bubble folds while I cut you, bro. I juggle flows that goes ballistic, reminiscent of exquisite cannibalistics and a sadistic doctor.